you're dieting.
Yeah.
You know you're dieting, so you're probably going to be less likely to want to eat high calorie.
That's what I was thinking. Like, how much of that is placebo though? If you're told whether you've opted in or you've been put on it by your doctor, you know you're taking it.
Exactly. It's
Like, it isn't. I guess you'll be classed as a Ozempic patient. You're going to be more conscious around what you eat. You're going to make probably better decisions because it's maybe you think it's not a silver bullet. I don't know how you quantify that.
I
And I
don't
think that's the
quantify
issue. That's why when I mentioned it to you, it's like it seems like the sweeping statements. It's just very, very dangerous because
Yeah.
it's not black and white. Like what would the impact of, like from you going and doing a workout this morning?
Yeah.
What impact does that have on you eating foods later on in the day? If you're trying to lose weight, you've put in the effort to go and work out. I see with, at least it's my experience and with a lot of my clients, for the rest of the day, you just make better decisions.
Yeah, you're more likely to.
Yeah, I've put a shift in, I've worked out, I don't want to fuck it up. So is there an element of that?
Probably is. And the thing as well is, the ones I looked at, and the big point they made of Ozempic was that when they looked at the people that, if you looked at the criteria that the FDA wanted it to be assigned to, it's basically, this is like last chance you. Like there's you've got to reach the stage. It's before having like gastric surgery. Some of the people had gastric surgery, but they're trying to say it's a lesser of a lot of evils, and I guess it kind of is because you're mimicking something that's already inside your body. So this, like, your GLP-1 is already in your body.
Yeah.
You're just taking something that is synthetic. It's basically the body thinks there's more of it, and it slows down lots of functions. Whereas if you imagine proper gastric surgery, I mean, proper bypass, they're cutting sections out of your stomach.
Yeah, it's mental.
I find that really, I don't know the circumstance, and maybe because I've never been in it, but to say, you know what, chop me up and take a part of me out.
It's got to be like, what's that show?
£600 life.
Yeah.
Mate, when I was
Yeah.
when I used to work in Derby, mate, that used to be a common thing. We'd sit there, eat a dinner like, whoa, look at this.
Fucking mental.
Whilst we're smashing massive meals in our heads.
Like, at that point, I think you'd do whatever it takes because you're dying anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
It's a horrible thing to say, but
it's true.
It's as you said, the lesser of the two evils. I have no issue with Ozempic or any of those kind of regulated medications in the right case, but I just can't believe they go on mainstream, like a doctor will stand on a mainstream media outlet, stand there and say even people of healthy weight should take this to reduce cancer risk because of studies that have come out from like a week ago that maybe probably like that's what I struggle with.
And the things with it, I then looked at, okay, why is it the reduction in cancer? And it's really hard to find them studies. And the one I kind of read, they were alluding to the fact that because we know that the more say, for example, you have cancer, or everyone has cancer inside you, and you're eating like prolific amounts of glucose. We've already mentioned before about the ketogenic diet. You're basically giving that cell as much energy as it needs to replicate and to grow. So the stuff I read and looked at, they're basically saying that we know that glucotoxicity is a real thing. It kills healthy cells, and more healthy cells die, less function there becomes. They have to be replaced by something, and they're basically saying, you're more likely to get abnormal cells in the conditions of the fact that you're already damaging good cells. If that makes sense. If you create an environment where your tissue is dying and becoming necrotic and the cells are dying at a sort of micro level, there has to be some form of replication, and the replication might be, chances are, not so great because your body's not functioning as it should. So I kind of read that and thought, actually, I kind of understand how they may link.
Sorry, John, I want to talk on that point because I listened to a podcast yesterday. It was so interesting, but carry on.
But it's kind of that's the kind of point I can see to it. And the other thing interesting I read about, they're talking about cardiovascular health. There's a massive push for that. I was thinking, well, how the hell is that actually acting? Obviously, there's GLP-1 receptors in every part of your body because it has to be. But it was sort of basically saying that any reduction in weight will reduce blood pressure, which we kind of know. Any reduction in weight reduces cardiac strain, which we kind of know. So I thought, actually, there's lots of knock-on effects on just weighing less. So the ultimate takeaway message is that being overweight is incredibly bad for you, which all of us know. And you don't have to take Ozempic, but for some people, it might be, I don't even want to say that, their only chance. I don't think it is.
And that's the issue, isn't it?
It's replacing hard work. No, it
kind of is, though. It is.
There's a journey to losing weight and changing your aesthetics and whatever it is. And I think Ozempic obviously isn't a silver drug. You still have to eat less, and it's going to essentially make you eat less because you're going to feel fuller for longer for how that hormones affect, or the peptides affect in your body. But you are losing a little bit of the mental control.
But also, how many of if you took a cross-section of people on Ozempic across all ages, and I've seen some horror stories out there in the media of, one I remember, there was a girl, she was 17, there was another woman who was, I think, 27, there was a guy who was 24, something like that. And the reduction, like, just their skeletal mass is gone. They've got no strength, they've got no energy. Take cross-section of everyone using the drug, how many of them are leading a truly active lifestyle?
Probably not.
Or is it diminishing them to the point in which, or will it get there to the point where just daily movement is bloody painful? Like going for, if they were to go for a 5K walk, they would struggle because they don't have that skeletal system anymore, because it's wasting other stuff. Like there's going to be a crossover point where your body continues to eat itself. It's the same as if me and you go into a fat oxidative state and, you know, trying to lean up for fucking summer or whatever it is, right?
Gotta get beach ready, baby.
There's going to be a little bit of tissue wastage in there at some point, and it's kind of replicated. It's just, I don't know. It's a strange one. I don't personally believe you can live a truly active, maybe this is a sweeping statement, but a truly active, healthy lifestyle utilising those drugs for an elongated period of time. So
I don't. And the things with it is that, looking at them again, we spoke about the gastric bypass or gastric bands. They're permanent things which will alter the size of your stomach and therefore how you digest stuff. This Ozempic's only as good as it's in your system.
Well, that's another thing.
The rebound's massive. Some of these people, so I lost 100 pounds and gained 110. It's like, holy moly.
That's good. Well, think of that. Think of like the processes. So you're reduce over time through the process of taking the drug. You are reducing your metabolic rate and that system and how it operates, slowing everything down. So when you come off, the kind of benefit subsides, your appetite comes back, those hormone suppressing element of the drug disappears a little bit, you start eating a little bit more, settle into what would probably be more healthier habits. But you've slowed your metabolic rate is used to a certain amount of food now, so you're going to start piling on weight. I just don't, it's a real struggle. I've actually worked with a guy who was taking Ozempic when he joined, and we stopped it after about 8 weeks. Incredible transformation. And a guy who was about to go on it. And he signed up, and I said, look, please just trust me and don't take it for now. If we go through this journey and you still want to do it, then do it. And again, weight's come down, fitness levels have improved, blood pressure's improved. So
it comes back to that trust element we spoke about before. I think people lose trust in themselves, and by literally taking that drug, you are somewhat bypassing your own chemistry, because you're basically putting something in you that tells your body, which slows everything down so you feel fuller, and also slows down the sort of drive for you to eat. So you are literally bypassing your own chemistry. It's like splitting yourself, your conscious side and your unconscious, and you're basically acting on the unconscious straight away. And I think you miss out so much. You miss out on so much growth and personal gain by doing that.
It's like the equivalent of, let's say you set, like in monetary terms, you set a goal to get to 100 million. And you've got one route, it'll take you 20 to 25 years plus building businesses or building a brand and putting in that graft and going through the trials and tribulations and the stress and the reward of doing that. But you get there. Or someone at the start of the journey just goes, nah, fuck that, I'm just going to put the Euro Millions on every time it runs. Do you know what I mean?
Run the chance.
That's kind of how I view it. It's quick fix. don't really want to put in the work.
No.
There's probably an element of lack of trust in themselves. And look, if any of you out there feel like you sit in that camp where you've considered it, or maybe you're on it, or you're taking it, it doesn't. I'm not judging you or saying it makes you a bad person, but we would urge you to, or not. Sorry, I'm not speaking for yourself, but
yeah, I'd urge them.
Yeah, just reflect on it and say, am I doing this because I don't trust myself to put in the work? I feel too lazy to put in the work. I feel like my life's too busy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of feels like a last ditch attempt. If the answer is yes to all of those things, it's probably not the right thing for you to be on it. If you're fucking £600 and you can't, get up out of bed, you need a crane to do it. Fucking do whatever it takes, mate.
Yeah, we've got to find a way.
Yeah, but if you sit outside of that,
you're probably not. Yeah, and I think the tough thing with it is I was kind of looking at how GL1 basically works, GL1P, and how it's secreted, where it's secreted. It's meant to last minutes. I mean, your Ozempic lasts hours.
Yeah,
and it's just I just looked at that at face value, thinking, right, okay, if something's meant to last minutes. Biologically, we've been around for how many millions of years, right? And it's always been a thing. We've not just gained GLP-1 in the last 10 years. It's always been there. And now we're going to start playing with the biochemistry of your body just to lose weight, of which something we can do, because essentially it's controlling yourself, controlling your appetite, of which you can do. Like if you tell yourself, I'm not eating, you can do that. It's just really quite hard if it's new to you.
But and that is an important point, right? Do you want to take the seemingly longer, harder road, but actually through that journey you improve your fitness? Outside the physical stuff, though, what happens to you mentally in that phase? Again, building that trust back in yourself. You're working out, you're training hard, you're losing weight, authentically, all the good, happy chemicals kind of traveling around the body again? Or do you want to, take at the start of the journey seemingly this easy kind of quick fix path? Let me just get me in a better position and then I'll do it myself, and which probably never happens. And live in that system where you're still not really living a healthy lifestyle. All you've done is you're now taking a drug and so eating less.
Yeah.
And so you don't get any of those happy moments. How many people, all the people that I've watched in terms of like testimonials of people, for it and against it, and people that have been through it, particularly the girl who I mentioned who was in her like late teens, she was like broken down as a human being. She looked terrible. She said she felt terrible. She had no energy. She was having DEXA scans. She had lost I can't remember the number, a certain amount of
crazy amount
bone density. Like how stuff that is almost irreversible.
Yeah, it is massively.
It's like, fuck, it's honestly it blows my mind.
But that's what it comes back to, with the right people. Like that drug's been created specifically to start off with. Ozempic was a type 2 diabetes medication because that's going to cause a lot of, diabetes can make you go blind. And there's so many other issues. Diabetic ulcers where you lose your limbs because they're necrotic and they die away. It's like type 2 diabetes, when poorly controlled, is massively, massively life-changing. But someone that's 17 that's probably not type 2 diabetic that wants to lose a little bit of weight does not fit in.
Yeah.
And that's where it's really hard to... it's probably a different story in the UK. I don't know how easy it is for us to get Ozempic. I know when it first came out, I remember doctor surgery saying, come have a conversation with your GP. It's like, hang on a second, what?
It's all money, mate. And you think it's all fucking money. I hate we should start a conspiracy theory. Well, this isn't a conspiracy theory, but an anti-establishment podcast. But it's all big. That's the first
big
thing.
Pharma.
It was all big pharma, mate. When I saw Sky News and ITV literally instantly talking about its cancer-reducing risk, and a doctor standing up on TV saying, the same doctor that said, when COVID vaccines, there was a little bit more light as to how damaging they could be. He stood up on TV and said that they're absolutely safe, 100%. The same doctor comes in and says, even people of healthy weight could take Ozempic and get cancer-reducing risk benefits. It's like, how fucking much is someone paying
to say
for that slot on Prime TV to say that, or those articles being written? And unfortunately, that is what it's all about. It's all just money.
And it must be even worse in America because they're allowed to have pharmaceutical grade stuff advertised.
Yeah.
I think America and New Zealand are the only two countries that allow it to happen. I mean, like when I've gone to the States, I mean, every commercial is there's a fat loss drug coming on, and I only go whenever I've been to America. I only watch like college football and American football. So, but mate, it's like every other one is like.
Is that really?
Mate, it's mad. It's to the point which I'm like, I remember we were in Florida, me and Zoe, about 3 years ago. I'm like Googling, like, what is this fucking brand? You look at it, oh, it's a fat. One of them was like a tablet you take. It sounded a bit like Ozempic, but it's a tablet form. And I was like, because I consult your doctor now. So many providers have it. I'm like,
crazy.
it's mad.
Mate, you can go into Boots now and get weight loss injections.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a packet. I believe, I think one of the companies is called Newman, maybe, or something like that. And I see their adverts on TV all the time, and just the marketing of them is so clever but so dangerous.
The sad thing is, right, people will happily pay. I guarantee, right, say example, you get someone on the street now, say, right, give me £5,000, right, and you'll lose weight in 6 months.
Yeah.
They're like, is that it? Just £5,000? Yeah, just £5,000, take this, right?
Yeah.
Same person, we go up to say, right, give us £1,000, work with us for the next 3-4 months, you'll lose weight. What's involved?
Yeah.
Well, you have to do a little bit.
How much time do I have to put in?
But I guarantee, it'd be interesting to see that if you could say, right, basically do nothing and give us £5,000, or have to do something and have half the costings.
Well, this is something going back a while ago when I had a business mentor. One thing he said to me, he was like, look, and I don't believe in this because of, well, for many reasons. I think you need time. I think relationship is important when you're helping someone in that area. So this isn't something I've done. But he said to me, he was like, right, what do you charge? I said X. He said, right, I want you to charge X for half the amount of time that you give now. Because he was like, what they'll perceive is they're going to get the result in less amount of time. And so they're willing to pay. The value is in how quickly can I get it. Now, for who we work with, I think like a minimum 6 months is really, really important because it goes above and beyond that. So, but that's the way we're wired as human beings. I want less friction as possible. I want to put in as little work as possible. If I can take a pill and wake up tomorrow and it's done, I'll probably pay you double.
Yeah.
That's how we're wired, and we'll never get away from that.
Because me and Zoe had a conversation yesterday. We're talking about like TikTok and training, Instagram, that kind of stuff. I tell you what, we watched Liver King Untold. That's why. That's what comes into it.
Is it good?
It's, the dude's just...
He's really...
full of shit.
Yeah, he's polarising to me because on one side, I think he's done quite a few podcasts, stuff I like, Fighting the Kid and stuff, so I've seen him on there. And his overall... Forget the fucking bullshit about steroids and all that. His overall message is one of positivity.
It is, you're right.
Like, if
you can't take that away from him.
No, if you look at it high level... But the issue is...
The in-betweens, mate.
The fucking in-between. Oh, my God. It ruins... It almost ruins... Stick the high level. Like, eat well, train hard, look after yourself, be disciplined, fucking alpha male, all that bollocks if you want to. But it's the underlying stuff and the lying about being on steroids.
Deception, mate.
Yeah.
That's what could... There's like a few things he made there. A few omissions of him saying like, oh, I used to... He had one that's like half paying attention... And he was basically saying that he used to falsify receipts for GNC, right, and take back supplements. And I was like trying to figure out. I was like, what?
Really?
And then he printed money for a little while.
Did he?
Yeah, man. I was like,
oh, so he's a fucking criminal.
So it's like I started
what
thinking,
I gotta watch that.
Right, okay. And it's like you're right. What he says, I agree with what the principle. If you were to take him out of it and put anybody else in there, what he's trying to say that you need to do. Live a healthy lifestyle as natural as possible. Completely agree. But when you're taking 11 grand's worth of gear every single month, perhaps you want to lead with that. Because
well, no, I didn't know he was fucking.
Oh mate, he was
printing money in.
Yeah,
so he's got previous.
Not during the period of I think when he was a Liver King man, but he basically said that I've done this in the past. That's like fucking hell, mate.
And look, everyone can be reformed, but then they probably still are. His supplement company was turning over like hundreds of millions of pounds.
He was, I think,
and probably still is turning over,
still is.
even if it's halved, right? Let's say because of all the shit
he
went through, it went from 100 million to 50 million. He's still absolutely killing it.
Yeah,
and he's done that off the back of total bullshit, basically.
Totally lying. And it's just, But yeah, long story short, we're talking about like kind of if you look at the message he's trying to put out there, it's really, really good, but he's lying. He's saying, oh, you can be like me if you do these 9 10 elements. Well, no, you never can because
No.
you've got to take copious amounts of gear to get to that level. But the thing is, she said, there's no one on Instagram, and I probably agree to a certain extent, that actually shows how hard things are. Like,
No, of course, unless you got a GoPro on your head
Exactly.
24 hours of the day.
what we're trying to say is like, there's no one that sort of has a channel where it's like, oh, they're trained to do X, and they're like, this session was hard. So no one's saying how often they have to train. And I get, because most of the time it's highlight reels. You watch people that are kind of trained athletes. They don't put up the day where like they went to run and it all fell apart and they didn't hit the pace. They don't put that.
Oh mate, I went for a run the other day and I got a K&a-half in, stopped and walked home. My back was like blew up. My quads were still super, super tight. Lungs were okay, but my body was just telling me, mate, you aren't recovered for this, and I fucked off home.
How about no?
Did I put that on my story or post a Strava thing? No, I didn't.
But then
So
why not?
yeah, I don't know, just didn't.
Because I had the same thing. I was like, oh yeah, because I don't really like, mate, the amount of times I've had bad sessions, they're massive, but you just keep pushing on.
Yeah.
But I guess I've also not got a presence to really worry about.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I used that message to quite a few of my clients, so I let them know and said, look, it's not all hunky dory for me. We're going to go through these periods, but no, outwardly on social media. I don't know, but I feel like equally there has been a swing in that. Like if you look over the last probably 2 years plus, it was like hush hush to say you're on steroids. Then it was like you're an absolute saint if you come out and say I'm on gear, and everyone claps them like they've done something fucking incredible, raised £1 million for charity. It's bizarre.
Simian Panda's my favourite. That dude is. Can you remember Simian Panda?
Yeah, I can remember him.
Dude is massive. Like, I am full natty. Like, I'm sure you are, Simian.
Do you know what? Right?
Don't tell it. Don't say it. Don't say it, Jeremy. Don't let 15-year-old you come out.
No, I know, but I'll tell you why. Because I'm the biggest skeptic with that kind of stuff. Other than his size,
yeah,
he has zero hallmarks of someone on steroids. He never changes.
Yeah.
He's barely grown for like fucking 15 years.
Can take a consistent dose for the same drug.
I know, but he's done he's paid like stupid money to do multiple tests himself, and I know you can come off, you can do all of that, but I don't think, especially in a market now where people get celebrated for coming out, maybe he's too far in the hole.
I think he is.
But there's genetic freaks though,
yeah,
mate.
There is. But
I remember watching his training videos. I can't remember the gym. I went there once when I was working away. Can't remember what it was called. He's just the way he looks and his physique and his skin and the way he moves weight. He presents like someone to me that's natural, but is just the top 0.1%. That's what I think. Now, there's people out there that are 100% on gear and still deny it. I just don't know if he's one of them, which is a crazy thing to say because of how big he is and because of his shape.
It's
but
the leanness, mate.
I know.
I don't know. The thing is, I never want to accuse somebody that is, because then you don't want to be a naysayer. Because he might not be. He might be as clean as they come, and like you said, he's the genetic freak. But
yeah. Well, look, he's
worked hard either way.
Yeah,
you can't take that away from him.
There's tons of people out there that you could look at and be like, you're 100% on gear, that I 100% fully convinced that aren't.
Yeah.
To a layman, and he's probably 30% above them. So there's no reason why someone can't genetically have an extra 30%. I think of Mike Thurston. If anyone looked at his physique, you'd be like ask anyone on the street, they'd be like, oh my God, absolute gearhead.
Yeah.
He's not touched steroid in his life. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Matt Morsey is another one with a pump, like stupidly strong.
Yeah.
Completely natural.
I guess it is so rare.
Exactly, yeah.
And
100%.
you're in a world full of somewhat charlatans that are wanting to find a way to make money.
Yeah.
And look sell. So I guess if you look the part,
that's
are
true.
The part. So,
yeah, that's true.
And that's the thing I always find a little bit like Krista Guzman and Steve Cook and all them kind of people in that circle. Like, why would you not? And that's me being, why would you not? Like you're
Yeah.
not, other than you're going to step on stage. Well, I mean, Steve Cook stepped on stage, but I don't think Krista Guzman ever did.
Oh yeah.
Did he?
Oh, he steps on stage every year for like 10 years.
Krista Guzman does.
Yeah.
And doing what?
Physique.
Is he?
He
is
gets
it
in crazy shape, mate.
tested?
Um,
This is the other thing, right?
I don't know, but if I had to guess with him,
You'd say, yeah.
he's a really difficult one because he goes through phases, right? I think it was a year ago, maybe a little bit longer than a year ago. I looked at him for, oh my God, you've blown up. You're like Rob Lipsett. You know Rob Lipsett? Irish guy.
No. I recognise the name a little bit.
I'll get your photo, but he's definitely come out now. Whether it's TRT
He's
or
on something.
and it was noticeable because he's not like massive. He's quite a small frame, but his fullness, his conditioning, the density, it changed
Different
within
thing,
like
yeah.
3 months. I remember looking, I was like, what the fuck have you been doing? You've been eating yourself. And Christian, there was a phase where it looked a bit like that, but then I look at him now, and I look back to him
Before, and you kind of
before, and I
see it,
think
don't
you haven't changed that much. But then the other thing I look at, right, he's running multiple businesses. Paul's, because I watched his YouTube for a long time. Paul's, he went through a phase of pulling all-nighters working. So he'd work all day, and he'd work in his office at Alphalander's gym all night, and he'd like be filming it. And he'd sometimes do that 2-3 days on the trot to launch, launching products or doing like for his clothing brand and that. And still training, I think, is now I know what I know and kind of my life. Is that possible without a little bit of something?
Again,
do you know what I mean?
It might be them freaks.
Let me show you Rob.
I just don't see it. I don't see it. But mate.
So this is Rob. That's Rob Lipsett. Do you remember him?
Not really, no.
But
No.
that's what he looks like now.
Right, okay.
And
he's come out saying he's on.
I'm pretty sure he has. Yeah, I don't really follow a lot of his content anymore. Like, I don't watch his videos anymore. I used to watch some of his
gym sort of stuff.
YouTube stuff back in the day. I'm never going to get down there. He posts like 1 million times a week. But definitely he's been on a little something. And to be honest with you, why, as you said, why wouldn't you? If you're in that industry,
Yeah, you kind of.
how you look is a kind of a major part of your.
You need to unlock your iPhone first.
Oh yes, unlock your
off.
iPhone, Jamie.
It's a major part of what you do. Like, I remember we've had conversations about it before, and I've always been like, I maybe just within that regard, anything regarding my body, I'm pretty risk averse.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't, I would have probably done it.
Yeah, mate. Because once it's in you, it's in you. You can't get it out. That's the thing. And you're going to run the course of how long it takes.
And we went through a phase in which, no, we didn't go to school together, but same sort of era, and like around our year 11 to 6th form time.
Yeah.
I feel like kids are 16, 17 just started banging gear.
Yeah.
Which is fucking
wild.
mental to think about. I remember being like one of the people who was always in the gym and stay consistent. And at that time was like, a decent size for my age. And then we go off one summer and then come back the summer before. Right. And there'd be like this kid that was skin and bone, 7,
massive.
8 weeks later, mate, he's bigger than me.
You've just absolutely reminded me of somebody. I try and find them now.
It was mental. And I remember thinking, what the fuck? And you start to get a little bit competitive. I was like,
wait a second here, what's
maybe
happening?
I need a piece of that. But actually it became a bit of an identity thing for me. I was like, nah, fuck, I'm just someone that wouldn't.
Yeah, it's just not me.
Wouldn't do that, yeah, but...
Right, look at this fucking mutant of a man.
What the
So he's our
fuck?
age.
Is he?
Yeah, mate. So I remember when we were playing, it would have been, where would I have been? I mean, at college, I would have been 15, 16, right? Don't get me wrong, he was always a big kid, right? But I'm pretty sure he was type 1 diabetic.
Sorry, guys, because you can't see this.
We'll just look at an absolute
Basically, it's just a fucking...
balloon.
You probably can't see that, but it's just an absolute unit.
And fair play to him. He was a really nice lad, right?
Yeah.
Really nice lad. But he probably started taking when he was 16, 17, definitely second year of college. He was 100% on it. And I remember thinking, how the fuck are you this big?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm playing like rugby twice a week. I'm training every single day, and I'm like fighting to try and keep weight on me. I'm still a big lad, and then he's turning up. He's like 18-inch arms.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to scratch my head, thinking, what am I doing wrong? And then he'd train at the same gym as me, and me and my mate Pepper would go and train, and we'd see him and like, what the fuck?
That's like I don't know where he is now in life or what he's doing, but a kid I came to our school in sixth form called Max Price. Do you remember him?
I think Zoe spoke about this lad.
Yeah.
Is his missus?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, say no more on that. But yeah, that's him. And mate, when he came, so he was outwardly on gear, and I think his dad had bodybuilded and they knew about his and kind of helped him. He was so big, strong. It just felt unhealthy. Just being around him felt unhealthy. It was so it's just a strange thing. Really nice kid actually, but
Radiating.
yeah, it was just like I remember looking. I just think that not that he was like he looked unhealthy or anything. He just looked so big that I remember thinking every time I was with him, I was like, that can't be healthy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what? Do you know what I mean? But
Size of him.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, right? So we spoke about Ozempic.
yeah.
Would you rather someone take Ozempic or take like TRT?
Oh, fucking TRT all day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's not even a question. I will be banging TRT later on in life, I can imagine, if I'm still doing what I'm doing, because do you know these people that have just like effervescent energy? They can go all day.
It's that.
That's not fucking me. Like, and of course I've had a little one relatively recently and whatnot, but still, like I don't have that ability. Like if I don't have 8 hours of sleep, I fall apart. So I'm thinking, okay, just projecting for future life. When I get to, let's say 50, hypothetically.
Need a little bit of something.
Yeah, what like my testosterone levels, I need to get them tested actually. But when I did after that natural bodybuilding comp, they were through the floor. I think they've recovered now and there's no issues on that front. But I just think by the time and you're fighting with, sarcopenia then and just the body's on that downward hill and trajectory, I just think fucking why
would
in
you?
a way, why would you not?
Yeah.
If there's signs, like if I get there and I feel great and I'm still training hard, my energy's great, not a chance.
Yeah.
But 100%, I think a lot of people could potentially benefit from it as long as you live your life the right way. If you eat well, you train, you got a good amount of kind of daily movement in, you stay hydrated, doing some TRT is only gonna
Make things
benefit
better.
later life.
I mean, there's so much of us out there saying that there's people saying about the reduction in cancer risk by having the appropriate testosterone levels.
Yeah.
Because everything it comes back to everything runs how it's supposed to run.
Yeah.
And if you take too much of anything, more so than what you need, there's always going to be an upside and there's always going to be a downside. Like,
Yeah.
I remember we did applied pharmacology, them saying there is no such thing as side effects. They're just effects.
Yeah.
Positives and negatives. And we bracket, the side effects are diarrhea, bleeding through your arse. Like these are all things. No. These are just
negative
effects.
yeah.
Just effects. But you're picking to choose the positive ones. And say,
Bleeding through your ass. That's a pretty
it's a real
one,
thing.
isn't it?
Yeah. I find it interesting as well because some people are dead against like TRT and taking it and doing it. And I think the exact same thing. When the time comes and you need to have that, I don't think there's any shame in that at all.
The one thing that always made me think, so when I thought of steroids or take testosterone, for example, I thought, fuck that. But then I see people on it and I'd speak to them, forget the hypertrophy. Like now I don't really give a shit about that. It was how it made them feel. Like the energy and the vigor for life. They were happier. They got more shit done. They didn't have any brain fog. They were productive.
Yeah.
They could, they just had energy and vigor for life. They were in like when they're awake, they're awake. And when they're asleep, they're asleep. Just everything, as you said, was how it was meant to be and in sync. And that always made me go,
something to that.
maybe. There's a really, really good friend of mine, George. I went to see him in Gibraltar last year. Hopefully going out again at some point. He runs the CRM that I use. He jumped on. I was speaking to him about it, and in fact, I actually jabbed him up once. Just out of it when I was there, he was like, "Do you want to do it?" I was like, "Oh fuck it, yeah, why not? Let's see what it's all about."
Straight into an artery. It's blood everywhere. Oh god.
And he was like, "Look, again, he runs a business, super successful guy. He's in like mid-20s, so really young. And he was like, mate, it's just the energy it's giving me. Like I'm locked in every single day, and that makes me think, oh my god, I would love to experience that. But for me, just like the physiological stuff, like I said, when it comes to my body, I'm a slightly risk averse, so I wouldn't do it. But
I'm the same. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, for anyone that's listening, and look, for any of my clients that listen and go, why have you not prescribed me TRT? I wouldn't prescribe you TRT if there were issues. So super, super low energy, brain fog, just quality of life was diminishing. Just training was pretty poor. All of that stuff, then go and get tested. And if the numbers were low, then hopefully your physician would say, and I'd say, okay, maybe it's something to consider. But you can remember, we can massively impact or improve our natural testosterone levels by the way we live our life. So number one being how we rest and recover, our sleep. Number two being by what we put in our mouth. And number three by resistance training. So like, we have to be careful. It's not again, silver bullet, going back to the Ozempic conversation.
It's not. And I think that's the important thing is, we're just talking then, I was thinking, right, how can we naturally improve all that? You know, how can I reduce brain fog? How can I, what is it something I'm eating or not eating? I think there's so many other things, so many other avenues I've explored prior to that. Like to me, you're taking, like when women enter menopause, there is a change in your hormonal profile and how your body secretes and produces certain hormones. In my opinion, at that point, when there's something has altered, I don't think the matter your diet's going to impact it, but it ain't going to fix it. So I do think at certain points you do need to have some additional pharmacological help.
Yeah, potentially.
But saying that, with the testosterone situation, I'd still be thinking, right, how can I optimize things naturally without having to take something? But for some people out there will come a point where you can't do anymore. Like, it is just diminished. Like,
I think the important thing there is do what you can first.
Exactly. What you can control, do that.
And that's, I guess, takes us all the segues all the way back to the Ozempic conversation again. It's like, well, do everything within your control. Take the hard route because there's always more reward. Make yourself uncomfortable, put the shift in, and then after that, you can consider your options.
Yeah, definitely.
That's basic. That's 100% the way to do it. But going back to that, actually, we've gone into many subjects here, but referring back to the podcast I mentioned earlier, and I can't remember his name, it's terrible of me. In fact, I'm going to find it because I feel like I should give it a shout out because I want people to go and listen to this. There was a guy on Diary of a CEO talking about cancer, like that's his speciality field. Let me find it. And I'm terrible at multitasking. Bear with. So he's a chronic disease expert. I'm trying to find his name.
David.
Doesn't look like a David, I must admit.
Steve?
Definitely not Steve. More of a...
Paul.
Oh, it hasn't got his name on it. Oh, here we go. Dr. William Lee.
That's close.
So, is your daily diet secretly fueling chronic disease? Dr. William Lee reveals the shocking truth about what you're really eating. And I've listened to the first half of this. Basically, what he goes into is that we have, so people like, because the way it's presented, we view ourselves as to have cancer or to not have cancer. Like you got a cancer diagnosis or you don't. He was basically saying, we've all got cancers within our body. Our body goes out and flushes them out and deals with them and sends them packing. But we've got cancers appearing and kind of evolving in our body every single day. Our body is just dealing with them. Now, sometimes they get to a point in which, because of mistakes, he was referring to them as like gene editing mistakes or gene copying mistakes. So whenever a cell duplicates, something can go wrong. Like a spelling mistake if you're, typing out an essay or whatever. And then that can basically, as that starts to mutate, that multiplies. Now, the body has got its own defense systems to go and find that and recognize it and deal with it and again send it packing. But sometimes that doesn't happen. It can metastasize and all that stuff. So he was saying everyone kind of has them. and there are a load of mistakes that happen daily that can cause them to mutate or for the cancer to exist. And then there are things we can do in our life that can reverse that as well. And he was saying the impact on diet and your environment outside of anything you can do medication wise is pretty much the number one factor. And I think it was his mother went from stage 4, which is like you're done pretty much.
Yeah.
To stage 0 is how he worded it through. And she had some treatment as well, but there was a complete shift in her lifestyle alongside that. It also talks about looking for stuff with high antioxidant protocols. Really interesting. Earl green tea, so English breakfast tea, has the highest number
Is it?
of antioxidants.
Wow.
And they tested green tea, matcha, green tea,
What about Yorkshire tea?
coffee. Yeah, I don't know. So he said now he'll have black Earl Grey.
Wow.
He also spoke about, for anyone, and I've been doing this for so long, you can get up to, I think he said, 1 billion pieces of microplastics from leaving a tea bag in your tea and brewing it in the tea bag.
How's he suggested to do it then?
Yeah, he actually didn't. But yesterday I went home and I ripped my green tea bag open, tipped it in, brewed it, and it kind of settles to the bottom.
Ah, yeah.
And then you can drink it. You can get tea.
Sort of strainers, can't you? Old fashioned, like
tea
strainers.
Charlie's mum mentioned that. She's like, "I'm going to get you a tea strainer as your
mate.
your Secret Santa gift." So there's things we can do every single day. Then he was talking about, okay, well, the things that on the other side of the book, high sodium and high sugar are like some of the 2-ish red flags because of what they do to the body internally, and alcohol. It's a universal toxin, and look, that is fucking rocket science.
Yeah, it's not hard, is it? We've
No.
known for a long, long time that alcohol's not great.
Yeah, so, just found that really, really interesting. Go and listen. Maybe we'll link it below, but go and listen to that because it was super, super interesting. It was a conversation framed in a way I've never heard the cancer conversation framed.
Yeah.
Around what is it? Why does it exist? How does that process work? What can we do to try and prevent and lower our risk, basically? So really, really interesting. There's probably a whole episode we can do on chronic disease and lowering risk. And
Ozempic kind of sits in
It does.
As much as I don't want to admit that, there's lots of probably drugs that sit in that category, but yeah, I still think, I'm not 600 pounds, so it's hard to be in the mindset of a person that is that. And I think maybe taking Ozempics, it definitely ain't a bad thing at that point.
If I was 600 pounds, fucking jab me up.
Figure it out, wouldn't you?
100%.
But the key thing for me is what worries me about it, and again, trying to see how easy it is to get hold of. Can you imagine you've got teenagers, right? And now me and Zoe are expecting a little girl. It worries me even more. How many girls do we grow up with that had a disorder for eating or had something untoward because they wanted to look like a certain person? What worries me with something like Ozempic is that you've got someone on mainstream television saying, yeah, even healthy people can take this. There's benefits to that. And they think, you know what? I'm not how I want to be. I'm a size 12. I want to be a size 6.
My prom's coming up. I want to get in my prom dress.
It sounds ridiculous, right? And it's something that I think, that's back in our days if we're old, but when we were at that point, I don't think that would have happened. But I'm very aware that life has moved on so much quicker at such a younger age.
Yeah.
And there's people that are like 12, 13 that are like becoming YouTube superstars, and that's their, like, that was never,
No, we were on the cusp of that, really.
Yeah.
We were like, we're the last generation that will remember a time as kids without the hook of social media as it is like now,
pulling
with
you
technology. Like primary school, we had like MSN and like, I never had Bebo, but all that stuff was kind of around. It was still common for us to like get outside. I know we had like PS2s and stuff. So we were kind of on the cusp. We remember life without it. And then life merging with it. But like my little boy now, Luca, your little one, when she comes, like they won't know a life without that. Like that's just how it is. So
and it's scary what they can see. And the thing to pull it back to is like, how, are we going to see an influx of people that are taking something like that because they want to look a certain way, and they don't need to. They don't need to do that. What they need to do is to learn how to live a healthy lifestyle and train, whatever it is, or get a sport. And it just worries me that it's going to be so easy to get hold of.
There's one reoccurring theme that we will always discuss on this podcast. It doesn't matter what the subject is. Fucking make time to exercise.
Yeah.
Eat the right shit and track it if you need to. No matter how annoying it is. Load of vegetables.
Yeah.
Fruits in moderation. Whole foods, like single ingredient foods, as we discussed. Don't gorge out on carbohydrates. Limit your sodium and sugar. And get good rest and recovery. That is your answer to pretty much every conversation.
Yeah.
We may as well finish the podcast now.
Yeah,
cheers, guys. We're about 6 episodes in. It's been brilliant.
It is.
That's pretty much it. But
it.
you're right. And those fundamentals will never change.
No,
But it is going to be interesting to see what transpires as like our little ones get to, let's say, 18.
Yeah, mate.
What does life look like then? It's a strange thing to consider. My only hope, and I feel like, again, there's been a little bit of a swing in this direction recently, of the kind of anti-establishment, don't trust what you read or what you hear, make your own mind up, do your own research. There's a lot of information out there now. And things swing in pendulum.
Yeah,
so
they
you
do.
get like this, oh my God, like through our grandparents and maybe even our parents are like, trust the media, trust everything they say as gospel, everything's for good. And then I feel like that pendulum swung to like, don't believe a word they say, everything's for money and whatever it may be. And that pendulum will settle again and it will continue to swing. History repeats itself. That's how it is. But I feel like we're kind of on that swing now. And maybe as they grow up, I feel like we'll be kind of stupid. But that's our role as parents as well, is to educate them, I suppose.
Yeah. I think the one mad thing that's coming to my head, we're talking about different drugs, and maybe we close on this point, is that you're right. There's such polarizing views about lots of different things, right? But just as a closing point is that at one point in time they made methylated cigarettes because they believed that having that would help clear your airways for a cold, and that was sold as a remedy.
Is that why?
Mate, yeah. Because as you smoke that cigarette, inhale that smoke, that's going to really open up your airway. Like Olbas in a fag is basically what it is. And that was the thing. And that was sold, and it was, I want to go as far as say, I was still a podcast on people talking about things like that. They even like the 20s and the 30s, you go to a doctor and they'd recommend that. Like, Jamie, when you get yourself some methylated cigarettes, you got a bad cold, bad case of flu, sit yourself down, have a pack of 5.
That's what I mean. We don't know what we don't know.
Exactly. And this Ozempic stuff is it's what, been out 2, 3, 4 years, 10, 15 years from now, let's see what's happened. Because there's so many things. Fluminimide is one of them. It stops morning sickness. Well, look how horrifically debilitating injuries, conditions that the children had. But I'm pretty sure it is used now, not for pregnancy, but there is a use for it. What I'm trying to say is,
well, think about, sorry, Jim Brosby, think about contraception.
For women, flipping out.
On that subject. Like, that's why, I think like 18 months before me and Charlie started trying for Luca, I said, I'd like get off it.
Yeah.
And she was like, you sure?
Yeah.
And I said, 100%, I don't care about the other stuff. Like, just get off it, because like you start to understand what it's doing. The risk in my mind is not worth the reward.
No, it's not.
And be sensible out there, guys.
Yeah.
But so that was, it's all that kind of stuff. Even I hate to take it back to it, it's a bit fucking buzzword, and a lot of people roll their eyes. But going back to the COVID vaccine, like, we needed science is great, and we needed something quick to, seemingly fix the issue. But then we fast forward 12 to 18 months and you see sports stars having heart attacks on a football pitch from literally 0 instance in 10 years or 5 years to having like 20 to 30 instances of people in the stands of the sporting events keeling over for heart attacks, physicians coming out and saying like the number of incidents in coronary artery disease, these weird plasma buildups that they've never seen in people when doing autopsies since the jab, and that was like hailed. Everyone needs them. Get your boosters. My nan's just had her like fourth or fifth booster. I've tell my family all the time, and it's like, what impact? Forget now. I remember when I had my first and second, it was the most ill, and some people had it and nothing happened.
No, in fact, me.
It was the most ill I've ever been in my life.
Really?
Cold shivers up to like rocket temperatures. Couldn't get out of bed. Couldn't even really like open my eyes. I've never felt anything like it, and I had that twice. I only did the second one which is so fucking stupid. I hate myself doing it because they said you can't travel, you can't go on holiday if you don't have it, and I was. We needed a holiday. That's so stupid. But
at the time you do trust in what's happening.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Yeah.
And the thing is with it is that for the vast majority of people, they're going to be okay. But there's always going to be a statistic. You just hope it's not you.
It's gene altering, gene editing technology.
Yeah.
mRNA technology. If you do your research on it, this is my value add. Go and make your own decision before you have your boosters. If the NHS reach out to you, do your research, and then you can make your own decision. But I really fear in. We're seeing the results now, but even in 10, 15, 20 years' time, like all-cause mortality risk or disease risk or numbers across those things as a result, like I personally feel there's going to be some really scary numbers there.
Yeah, I mean, you meet some people. I used to work with an individual that they're quite convinced that their kind of issues in terms of how they feel, and a lot of it's like tiredness, like ME almost. They can almost pinpoint it to the vaccine, and it's one of them things that initially, don't get me wrong, like I'm not much of a skeptic, but you hear these things, and then you look at some different studies, you hear people talk about it, and I always think there's always an outlier.
Yeah.
There's I say an outlier. There's always someone. Whenever everything's like a very rare side effect, it's happened. That's why they know it's a side effect. So it has the potential to happen. All of us roll the dice and hope it's not us. But unfortunately, some people roll it and it's them.
Yeah.
And trying to speak to them people about kind of what they're going through and how it's altered their life, it's this particular person. It's real sad, mate.
Me, but I honestly don't think it's that rare. I've worked in doing what I do since COVID. I've worked with 15 people who have had bad long COVID symptoms.
Really?
And still have them, and you have to work around them. Working with a guy at the moment who, like you said, like energy is just
gone,
just absolutely shot and gone. And that to be like alters your quality of life, but that's not the scariest thing that could happen that we've seen. Is kind of it's a touchy subject for a lot of people, and an interesting one. I guess we'll never really know. But I think overall sentiment for your health is just, I think, be your own health advocate.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I'll say is trust yourself, advocate for your own health, make your own decisions, not because someone's told you and they're in a seeming role of authority above you because they know more information than you. The information's out there if you want to find it. Remember, there's a narrative behind everything.
Yeah. And get more than one opinion.
Yeah.
Like, look at polarizing ones. Look at the pros. Look at the cons.
Yeah.
Look at someone in the middle and make your own opinion.
Yeah.
Because you might look at someone. There's always going to be a polarizing view to everything. You might listen or read or think, nah, don't believe in that. Or you might think, oh, actually, there might be a hint. Because there's always a hint of something. Whatever it is, there's no smoke without fire. So I completely agree with you. You know, take as many opinions of. Don't take them as your own necessarily, but give them the time of day. Have a listen. Be true to yourself of what you believe is right and wrong. What you want to do. And that circles really back to the Ozempic and anything else, is that just be truthful to yourself. Do you really need this thing? And malaria vaccines, things like that, different kettle of fish. If you're going to go somewhere and you could get a tropical disease going to kill you, different kettle of fish.
Well, Luke has got his jabs today.
What's jabs he got?
He's got Men B, Men A, meningitis, something else. Got 4. Yeah. Leg, arm. I know. The most horrible thing you can do is not the most horrible thing, but it's up there. Is watch your little one get jabbed, and they just don't really have any awareness of what's going on until the first one's gone in. Then they've got 3 more to go.
So it starts fighting back.
Oh, I remember the first one was okay because he was still on feeding from his mum at that stage. You could literally like jab him and then straight on, and it kind of settled it. But it was like the jab, and then you can
Delay.
do the delay, and then it's like
Next one.
mate. So I hope he's okay. But yeah, like those things when you understand how, not just you understand what they're for, when you understand the science around how those vaccines work, they seem safe and make sense in a way.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
So yeah, of course, and we're not an anti-vaxxer in any way, shape, or form.
But it's just being mindful, and you have to be, like you said, be a little bit inquisitive. Ask the questions. Have a bit more. And I'm not saying go on PubMed and become self PhD doctorate. But what I'm saying is,
and don't go on Reddit either.
Oh Christ, no! But just have a little bit of understanding as to what it is, how it works, and what it's protecting you against. Just have that. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And sometimes people, enough knowledge to get yourself in trouble, not enough to get out of trouble. And what I mean by that is that just look at things at surface level. Don't worry about going into the granularities of things, but just think have an understanding what it is, what it's going to do, what the benefits are, and what are the side effects, and balance them out. Because some side effects are, like we said, bleeding from your arse, or constipation, and the pro is I feel a little bit. I wake up an hour early in the day, or whatever it is. Yeah. You have to really balance out what you're going to do and what are the possible outcomes of it, and just be honest with yourself. Don't feel pressure of anybody or anything to do something if you don't think it's right.
Yeah. But I think and look, medical professionals, they are absolutely incredible. Like, don't get me wrong. Zoe's a paramedic.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law, she's a GP. I think just science and what we've done in that field it blows my mind and is incredible, and they help people every single day, far above and beyond anything I can comprehend.
Yeah.
However, if you are seemingly healthy, assess your options. If you're told that you need to go on something, I think if you're going there's an issue, it needs fixing.
Deal with it.
Great.
That way. Yeah.
Outside of that, as you said, arm yourself with the knowledge before saying yes. I guess is probably our advice on that.
Yeah, definitely. Because there is charlatans out there and snake oil salesmen.
Yeah,
that's a real, and that's sad, but that's a real thing.
Well, look, one thing I always go back to, again, we'll segue and we will finish soon because we're coming up to an hour. But little things and little cues. So when Chester tried preeclampsia, had to give birth to Luca early, we were basically sat down and said, right, you got a few options, or I think it was 2 options, induction or C-section. Now, we were fortunate enough to have a GP in the family and Cara, and she basically said, look, this is what I would advise, and we said we wanted that route. And then we were basically told, literally the response was, oh, I'm not sure that'd be possible. After being told, what do you want, and it is to your discretion, she literally sat in front of us and said, not sure that'd be possible. Yeah, you see, I'm not sure we could do that. And then we were like, well, and then eventually we just kept pushing. Heart was set on it, kept pushing, and she was like, okay, I see what we can do, but you're going to have to come in now, and it might be a week before we can get you in.
What?
First, and we were like, we don't care. If she stays in for a week, she stays in for a week. This is our decision. And then, lo and behold, she was in, I think it was like 4 p.m. in the afternoon or 5 p.m. in the afternoon. We had that meeting. She stayed in overnight. And at like 9 the next day or something, she had it. And it's like, and that was, they were trying to move the needle because of, I guess, teams and resources around the bit. Like, so if we didn't have the empowerment to go and the knowledge and people in our family to say, actually, no, we're going to dig our heels in here, then we could have gone down another route, which could have been a lot worse. We had some stories. So it's just,
you just don't know.
You don't know. I think that's just a synonym for the other stuff that we're trying to discuss. Arm yourself with the right information. Yeah. Ultimately, fundamentally,
what you think's right.
Exactly. And look after yourself. And to end on, let's end yes or no. Would you, for anyone listening now who's not morbidly obese, without knowing any more information?
No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
I don't need to ask
I
questions.
just don't. I just, like we said, I think you're bypassing the journey of finding yourself again.
Put the fucking hard work in.
Put the graft in.
Put the hard work in.
And you won't you'll stay lean.
Yeah.
Because
You'll
you'll
feel
know
better.
what it's like.
You'll look better. You will build trust up in yourself.
Yeah.
There'll be other health benefits along the journey
Exactly.
rather than negative impacts.
Yeah.
So go and put the graft in. If you're needing to change, you need to lose weight, you need to improve your health. The only way you can do that is by doing it and by starting. Yeah. And that goes back to how we ended the last podcast, which is, in fact, go and watch it.
Yeah.
Go and watch
it.
Yeah, go and watch it. We're getting good at this promo stuff. Well done, mate. Thank you very much for listening, watching, hopefully subscribing. If you're not subscribed, you do find some value here, please do click that subscribe button because it really, really helps. Me and Matt are early on this journey when it comes to podcasting.
Still figuring it out.
As shown by the last podcast that was put out, which is probably 2 ago now in terms of the blur and the audio and whatnot, but we're getting there. And our aim here is to spread a positive message in terms of health, to arm you with a little bit more knowledge. Hopefully every time you listen, there's some stuff that you take away from our conversations. And again, feed us back, like drop us a DM or drop a comment on any subjects you would like us to cover. And look, me and Matt, we're well versed on a lot of topics. We've helped a lot of people improve their health, but equally, we're not, as you said, we're not doctors or we're not surgeons, we're not scientists. We don't work for NASA. I couldn't tell you how to launch a rocket into space. Do you know what I mean? But our intentions are right. We will do as much research as we can if it's a subject that we're not well versed on.
Yeah.
Give you our opinion. And we'll continue to discuss some somewhat controversial topics as well.
You've got to talk about them because if you don't, they become taboo things, and they shouldn't be taboo. You've got to have a conversation and be honest, and everyone's have different opinions and different things, but it's about having as well around an opinion as you can have, and you only get that by talking to people and talking about things. So yeah,
well said.
Knowledge is power.
Well said. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you in the next one.